Hi, I'm Danger Dan Jers, the host and GM of the D&D Real Play podcast, D&D Dark. Join us on Wednesdays for an absurd, over-the-top comedy horror adventure, starring some of history's most infamous monsters.
I'm Ben Magnet. I play Mary Frankenstein, our barbarian.
I am Daniel Cruz. I am playing Imhotep the Mummy, our cleric.
I'm Jordan, and I play Larry Talbot, a lycanthropic warlock.
I am Grayson, playing Jack Griffin, the Invisible Man, the party's rogue.
I am Aaron. I play the Phantom of the Opera, our bard.
For more information, go to dndarkpodcast.com and listen to us anywhere you find podcasts.
You've read the books. You've learned the rules. You've played the games. And so is your mom. Just making sure you're paying attention. Now, it's time for something completely off base. From the same guys who haven't done anything exciting yet are the Paladins of Podcast, Rob and Potato. Listen in as they talk about all things related to pen and paper games, challenge rules, and go off script. This is the high fantasy commentary you didn't ask for, but your mom did. This is the Epic Table Audio Show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Epic Table Games Audio Show. Got Potato. How you doing?
How's it going, man?
Not so bad. I got a surprise for you today.
What's that?
I brought a special guest, Zach.
Hello.
Oh, I didn't see you there. How's it going, Zach?
Hey, not so bad. What are you up to?
I'm doing well, man.
Fucking right.
All right. So, Zach is a part of our unreleased side quest podcast, and you're still new to tabletop games in general.
Very new. I know nothing.
All right.
Fresh meat.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
Put it like that, I guess.
So, if memory serves me correct, you're learning Pathfinder 1st Edition.
Yes.
Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition.
Yep.
And Dragon Age.
Yes.
All at the same time.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't sound very new to me. That just it sounds like you jumped in feet first.
Head first. Yeah.
All right. All right. We have talked a little bit about, Potato and I here have talked a little bit about the differences in some of the editions, but now that you're actually in both as a brand new player, what are some of your gripes about either one of them? Both of them? All three?
If I'm going to gripe against something out of the three, it's definitely going to be Dragon Age.
Okay.
I play a fighter class in all three of those. Fighter specifically in Dragon Age, and then Barbarian in Pathfinder, and a Barbarian in 5e.
You like being the rough and tumble kind of guy.
Well, that's one of my go-to classes. Like if I'm playing Diablo, I'm probably going to play a Barbarian.
All right.
But that it was advised that those were some of the quote-unquote simpler classes and easier to get into something with.
They generally are.
Yeah, martial classes are easier to understand than your spellcasters, that's for sure.
Yeah, you have one thing to keep track of.
And I figured, and this may come back to bite me in the ass still, but I figured starting out as a barbarian, something simpler in both 5e and Pathfinder might be the way to go, although at the same time, there's conflicting information too, which is making things a little difficult.
That's the thing that I think you slipped up there, is being a barbarian in both different systems. So now you're like, I got a bear totem. We're playing Pathfinder. I don't have a bear totem then?
Oh no half damage.
Right, no half damage. No. Yeah.
So that's where, like you were saying, some of the conflict comes into play. Do you find that you have a lot of cross information at times? Because you play Pathfinder on Fridays, on every other Friday, and then you turn around the next Saturday for your 5e game.
Yes.
And then a week later on that Saturday is Dragon Age.
Yes.
So are you constantly battling that cross of information?
Saturday morning 5e sessions are probably the most difficult, because Friday night I got my brain pumped full of Pathfinder, which is fucking awesome.
Right.
And then Saturday morning, I've got to get back up with a lack of sleep and then like do a different barbarian. So that's probably the most difficult transitions, first couple hours of my Saturday morning game. But
Sure. Now, I know that the idea Wizards of the Coast had with 5th edition was to essentially simplify the rules bloat.
Streamline the chunkiness of the mechanics.
Absolutely.
Keep things moving.
Yes. And with your newer experience in Pathfinder, which is still incredibly rules heavy, do you find it actually easier to play in 5th edition?
Yes. It is easier to step into. I don't have any sort of background in tabletop role-playing. I've got a lot of background in RPGs, action RPGs, etc. At this point, I'm still trying to transfer from a video game barbarian strategy and integrate that into my role-playing, my tabletop.
Yes.
Like, that's really a hard transition, is going from one not really genre, but one aspect of RPG gaming to a different aspect. I mean, you gotta, I know these strategies, but trying to recognize a situation while we're all around a table is a little bit different than when I'm playing something on screen.
That exactly. The mechanics of it and how you are able to do certain actions as a barbarian is totally different on a video game situation than it is on tabletop. And when I was first playing Pathfinder with Rob, I was trying to do the same thing. I was trying to like connect that bridge and basically emulate my video game characters into this new spectrum. That way I can enjoy it better and try to understand it more, but it just doesn't connect the same way as you'd think.
It's really frustrating right now trying to take that experience and move it into a different aspect of this, but I don't think it's going to slow me down for much longer. I think it's starting to...
You're picking up steam?
It's hitting the tipping point, you know.
Love to hear that.
Yes.
It would be cool if we can do a Diablo campaign for Pathfinder or even 5th edition. That'd be super cool.
So the Diablo story is pretty generic. It wouldn't be difficult.
It wouldn't be, yeah. So. It would be cool. I want to take on Asmodan right now.
It's a little too late at night for that.
Oh, we got enough time. Come on.
Sure. Well, I mean, we got a party of 3. So
just run the 2 of us. It'd be all good.
Should I get my financial mistake?
No. No, you can leave your laptop behind, Seeds. We're good. All right. All right. So one thing that Potato and I have talked about before is action economy. And in Pathfinder specifically, we have swift actions, immediate actions, reactions, which are tied into your immediate actions, standard actions, full round actions. It feels like the list goes on. And we've noticed that in Pathfinder 2nd edition, they kind of simplify those to certain actions. And from what I understand, in 5th edition, it's the same thing. So you have certain actions that can be performed in a round at certain times.
Correct.
How's that really working out? Which version do you prefer? Because we know that you've already said 5th edition does move things along.
Yes. I'm not going to try and shit on 5th edition. It is what it is, and it serves a purpose, and I like it. However, between D&D 5e and Pathfinder 1st edition, I would choose Pathfinder hands down. I like that it's a little bit more technical, and I like that it's a bit more rule heavy.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't really slow down things for me. That's like part of the game that I enjoy. So
good deal. I think we both feel the same way here, too, is that
yes.
The reason that we've stuck with 1st edition Pathfinder, even after 2nd edition came out, even after 5e came out before that, really came down to the fact that once you know the rules...
It's more realistic. It's not slowing you down.
Right. And
yeah, it feels so much more grounded.
And it allows, in my opinion, the additional rules are there to allow for additional imagination. Because it seems like when you simplify rules, you really cut out how to do a lot of things you can think of. Like, yes. There's no rule for extra long jumps. There's no rules for, trying to skip or run on water kind of thing.
Right.
I'm not saying that Pathfinder specifically has those rules, but the imagination is tied to essentially your boundaries.
Yep.
And even by simplifying, it seems like 5th edition has taken away those boundaries, but put more up. in a different way. And as much as I love it, because I love what Wizards of the Coast did to bring in new players. I love what they've done for the last close to 10 years now, developing 5th edition to something that really has a strong community. I mean, honestly, there are 2 powerhouses in tabletop RPGs, and that's Wizards of the Coast and Paizo. And you have those. Everything else is pretty forgotten almost.
Paizo just unionized.
I heard about that. Yep, they unionized. I think that's a good thing for them, but I'm worried of a certain type of fallout that might occur afterwards.
I was reading on the internet about some people. I mean, they all joked around like, "Yay, the 30 people in Paizo unionized," but also that the possible fallout. Some people are afraid of, but as long as they continue to pump out decent material, I mean, they're good. And what I understand is that they didn't unionize because the company was treating them poorly.
No,
they unionized just to organize workforce better. I didn't look into it too much. I'm excited about it. And another bit of information that I've talked to you both about separately and haven't mentioned because I've been wanting more information about it, but I guess we can spill the beans at this point, is Pathfinder Infinite. And that was opening up Pathfinder, all of their copyrighted material to be used by third-party publishers.
Oh, right, yep. Kind of like what D&D Beyond did.
Yes and no. So with D&D Beyond, you still can't put a Mind Flayer in your third-party book. But with Pathfinder Infinite, I can use specific elements from Paizo's library that's not open gaming in Epic Table Games third-party content, which eventually I'd like to get into publishing.
Yeah, it'd be super cool to say, yeah, I published this, and I have it right here for you to grab and get your hands on, underneath the Paizo umbrella, essentially.
Where you're compatible, but you're still within Galorian. You're still using the deities, etc. I would like that.
It'd be super cool.
And it's one of those things. And with all of that information, I guess it leads to other things that I've been trying to put together, and that comes down to what I've shown Zach earlier today, is trying to modify the classic Marvel superheroes TSR rules.
Yes. I still want to understand and play that game, dang it.
Oh man. I was telling Zach about how there's sometimes words are just completely omitted from sentences, and it makes it hard. We've joked about that on other shows.
Trying to translate hieroglyphs, trying to understand that game.
Sometimes, yeah.
That's not a fault. That's a feature.
I don't think it's one that anybody asked for. I described it as, how you can use and / or as either and one or the other, or use both. And in these cases, it's omitting and / or. It's omitting and. It's omitting or. So you just don't know what goes in there. You don't know if it's both, one or the other, or neither. It's hard to read. God, as much as I love that system in particular, man, it's difficult.
Choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. But as we're getting away, Zach, you had mentioned Dragon Age, which is a D6 system.
3D6.
Made by Green Ronin, correct?
Yes. And now Green Ronin has one of my other favorite tabletop RPGs out there. So as much as I don't want to dog on Green Ronin because I love the guys, I love their content, but Dragon Age it's either difficult to understand or it's difficult to play based on the group you're playing with.
That would definitely be the latter.
I agree.
And I also think that Dragon Age is more of not a rules light, but maybe more of a role-playing element. They're skipping a lot of the dice, a lot of the rules, it seems like, really simplified, like action, combat, and stuff like that.
Right.
But then again, it could be more the group we're playing with.
It could be.
It seems like it's more role-playing heavy.
Yeah, when I was
reading... Or it leaves more to the imagination, should I say that?
Yeah, I think it's a good way to put it. When I was reading up the rules, I was seeing the same thing, that there's not as much of mechanics as much as you're just free to role-play the scenario how you see fit.
Yep.
with, like I said, only rolling 3d6 for pretty much everything. It's pretty interesting. But if I was going to play a game that's more roleplay heavy, I'd rather play a game like Fate, where that's really all there is roleplay.
Sure. When it comes to the 3d6, I don't mind the mechanic. The system, the 3d6 system, it's decent. It really is. I mean, you roll your 3d6, you add them together, you subtract any deductions or add any modifiers as needed. Knowing that you only need 3 dice for everything at most, it's pretty decent. You can obviously have a few more dice in certain scenarios and less as necessary, but the Dragon Age game has a super grimdark setting to it, and I like that.
I love the
aspect.
franchise.
Yeah, that's great. I don't know if the tabletop version really
grasps that, or brings it to the table.
Yeah, I don't think it adds exactly. I don't think it brings it to the table.
Well, could that be a fault of the DM at least? Because it's story driven, is it not?
Our DM is story driven, but I cannot specifically say it's at fault of the DM. He seems to know the material pretty well.
Okay.
Agree.
I'm not sure if he has been able to bring Zach and I, because we played in the game together, I don't know if he's been able to bring us into the mechanics of the game as well as what we're used to seeing others do.
Oh, okay.
Because, Zach, when you came in for the Pathfinder game, I kind of walked you through as much as I could, like an entire character sheet. Not every skill, but I told you what skills were used for, and kind of pertaining to the skills you wanted to use.
That was the first time I'd actually rolled up a character. Was the character we rolled up for our Pathfinder game.
Yep.
Carl the Barbarian.
I started playing the 5e game first, but the first character I ever rolled up was the Pathfinder character we have now.
And
amazing character, by the way.
Yeah,
did a good job.
Well, that's because his character is pretty much
pretty much Thal. I know. That's why I was looking at you. My first character, I'm pretty sure I said this on the podcast already, but my first character in the foray of Pathfinder was a half-orc druid who really had nothing good going for him, had the worst stats rolled up. Only thing I had good was the tiger, who killed somebody in interrogation that everyone hated. Like, I didn't mean to kill him. I tried to interrogate him with my tiger.
Now that leads me into a decent point, as we were talking about the potential of a DM. And Potato, I've been in a game that you've DM'd.
Yeah.
You both have been in games that I've DM'd, and I'm always open for criticism. You know, anything to make it better. The game that you're talking about was DM'd by one of my friends that I've known for 20 plus years.
Yep.
It wasn't a bad scenario, but how did you feel in that case with that particular DM? That was your first game, wasn't it?
That was my first game.
That was your first game.
My first character.
And since then, we've played with at least 2 other DMs.
Yep.
And then you've pretty much been under my umbrella for the most part.
Yeah. In comparison, I'll have to say with, the softest of hearts that it wasn't the best experience starting off with that particular DM.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that he chose things and ruled things that actually made no sense and felt more of like biased opinion other than what does the rule say. So that kind of turned me off a little bit as well. And I was glad that we went to another DM and started playing with those guys. That's how I really learned the game, and I was really just dove in full bore. I love Pathfinder. Can't say it enough.
Right.
But yeah, it was rough. Definitely in that situation, because now I don't want to sound like I am butthurt, but when I say he's gonna gnaw on his shoulder to try to intimidate him, it doesn't turn into a dice roll that kills them. When you gnaw on somebody, you're not taking flesh from their bone, dang it. My tiger is a murderer.
When you make physical contact, it is an attack roll. Just drop it. Drop it. It's been years.
Next time I make a druid, I'll make sure I say the words gum. He's going to gum him.
Fair enough. And so, Zach, with 3 different games.
Still a sore spot, huh?
It is
a little
obviously
bit,
still a sore
a little
spot.
bit.
Let it go. Now,
There's a statue of my tiger right over there. I love him.
now, Zach, you've had 3 DMs.
Yes.
And we've kind of touched base on, I don't want to say any sort of inadequacies about any DMs, because everybody has their own style.
True.
That's what I was just going to say. I have 3 DMs right now, and they each have their own style. Distinct styles.
Is there something that is provided that you really enjoy, or do you find yourself wishing that anybody kind of did something additional? I mean, like, I think as both you and I have known that any sort of feedback, Potato, is highly appreciated. And being new to the game, I mean, you come in with a whole host, I don't want to say new problems, but with a brand new player perspective that existing players who have been upgraded to DM just don't see anymore.
Yeah.
I have obviously a brand new player. Still really don't know my ass from a hole in the ground. I can admit that. I have been thinking about a time in the future when I decide to DM my own game for the first time. And I think, based on the experiences I've had with the DMs I've had so far, I think I want to be the DM that is really a character enabler. You know, if you want to be a druid with a tiger, I want you to be the most badass druid with a tiger ever. Like, you know, as a DM, I see myself really enabling my PCs to do whatever the hell they want, because that's going to be fun for them. I like enabling people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You totally like making problems for yourself, don't you?
Yes.
Because that's the same way that I DM'd, and he can tell you firsthand how many times he's trolled me and tortured me as a player.
Yeah.
With his Thal, I swear to God, I got the most gray hair I've ever had.
I mean, to be honest, it's upgraded to a bald spot at this point, hasn't it?
Yeah, I'm bald. How dare you bring that up that I'm balding? How dare you?
You know what? Nobody can see it. It's fine.
But now they can hear it. Do you hear the baldness, guys? It's right there.
No, I don't hear
Baldness.
I like where you're coming from with wanting to be able to enable your players. And I appreciate that. And you've seen in the session 0 that we've had, and we have one player in particular at our table, who I will describe momentarily. Because in side quests, we have quite a few new players. So I've got to set enough expectation where it's just not running around rampant.
Right.
You know, I want to be there. I want to support all my characters, all my players' decisions, and let them be the best that they can be. But the fact is that
you got to do some nudging too.
Yes.
Yep.
And you have to control it a little bit enough. And one of our players, I swear to God, you described it best when we should just call him Kool-Aid Man. And he's so frustrated because he says, Rob, why is everything so vague? It's so irritatingly vague. And I've complained about this both to you guys on separate occasions. You roll into a new town with limited information. You pick a random person.
And you intimidate the shit out of them.
Saying, give me everything I want to know or I'm going to kill you. Seriously, why would they know that? You didn't even look for a place to look for information. You just randomly picked a guy and said, give it to me. It's not the way it works. I'm going to cry. Oh my God.
So, do you think that's a result of today's video games just making things too easy for the players, like more like guiding them or leading them around by the nose through the story or whatever?
He's waiting for the quest marker to show up on his map.
I think that's potential a part of it with some players.
You know, I don't want to make fun of that player, but what you just said, waiting for the symbol, that's what happens. That's what everybody's acclimated to. Why would I look for stuff?
Those aren't generally the games he plays. So
probably.
They're not. I know what kind of games he plays. Besides head games.
Besides head games.
I think it comes down to when people envision Dungeons and Dragons or other tabletop role-playing games, they are either in one of two categories. Paralyzed by possibilities, or gung-ho about essentially winning D&D.
Yeah.
And I get that. I was the same person. I liked the idea of winning D&D. I was also the shenanigans player. And I'm so sorry to my other DMs. I have ever played a character, except for Potato.
As I say.
and knowing that is how a lot of players start. I can't help but look at our player. We should just call him Cam for Kool-Aid Man at this point, because he will bust through the wall and demand answers and say, "Oh yeah, that's what he's doing." I do see a lot of how I started in him, and it's not wrong, but
he has the passion. He has the heart.
He does. Yes. He's having a good time. He's making it hard for the rest of the players. And I understand his want for the information, but he's not acclimated to the game well enough to know that you have to use some of the mechanics to get the information.
Right. It's not like a treadmill. You actually have to search for it. You have to say the right things to the right people to get the right information.
Right. And there is a skill in 5th edition. I don't think it's a skill. I want to call it more of a mechanic. It's passive skills, right?
Oh, like passive perception?
Yes.
Yep.
And Pathfinder doesn't have passive perception. So I use things like perception as I'll describe what you guys see. If you walk into a room, I'll describe the room.
Right.
And if you need more detail or want more detail, you can roll perception for anything specific or higher amounts of detail, etc.
Yeah.
Because the basics are just sort of your passive everything, in my opinion. What I've seen is there are issues with certain players who will say, if I don't see it with my perception check, I'll just notice it with my passive perception. And I don't like the way players roll that. Like, that, if you'd see it with your passive perception, you wouldn't have to roll for it. I mean, that's just, it seems cut and dry to me.
Yeah.
Reading online, that wasn't the case for a few people, and there's really a large camp who are on the other side of this argument.
Oh, interesting.
They're wrong, but
obviously.
Well, I mean, come on. If you had to make a roll for it, can you see it with your passive perception?
No.
Exactly, and that's, I don't know why anybody would agree otherwise. But to bring that back around, Cam really has an imagination I didn't know he had, and I love it. I love the enthusiasm. I love the passion he's got in it, and the way he uses it, he forgets that there's mechanics to the game. He gets that into it.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. But you guys should see, I mean, well, you two can see it. Our audience should see the rest of the party. I mean, I think you can hear it when you listen to side quests for the first few episodes, how it's invariable. They are banging their heads against the table as they try to stop him from just mowing down every NPC he comes across.
He gets off on this path, on this war path, if you will, and you just hear like an audible sigh from the peanut gallery. Just
Right. Now you both.
There he goes again, guys. All right, how do we calm down?
you guys both are in side quests. Who made him party leader?
Well, I think that's how it is in every D&D group. No one really decides who's leader. It just decides on who's talking, who lets him talk.
So it kind of goes the strongest personality.
Pretty much. If he wants to play face, that's his prerogative. I personally don't like playing face.
Is that how it is in 5e for you guys?
The group is settling in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There is emerging a distinct voice for the most part.
Okay. I've noticed in our Dragon Age game, it's... If we let the dwarf in Dragon Age game talk...
That fucking dwarf.
He will take us down the absolute worst possible path. Every time.
Invariably.
And...
I like to listen to him talk.
And in that game, I do have to say, I'm playing a warrior in Dragon Age. I'm learning the system as well, and it's not a bad system. It's confusing because I don't think it was I don't think the content was delivered very easily or well. But I'm playing a character who started off as a farmer, with a background as a farmer, who's a warrior class. And I did that so if I didn't like the game or the group, I could say, you know what, he's just going to go back to his village and keep farming. I could peace out.
Yeah, I like to retire early. This fighting stuff is too much for me.
Yep.
I'm going to go back to my potatoes.
I'll always come back to you, potato. Anyhow,
Wink.
anyhow, I drug Zach into that one, and I actually think it's because of Zach I've stuck around. I was going to try to bring you into it, but your schedule was
Right.
a little much, and that's okay. And at this point, I think you would have enjoyed learning the system, but I don't think you'd enjoy the game.
Yeah, actually playing the system is different than learning it.
Right.
It sounds good on paper, but execution.
Again, I think it's probably a great game. I think it's well developed. I mean, it's been around for a while. It's just presented in this particular group a little difficult to understand.
Okay.
There are plenty of times where we'll have to ask questions and the answer is prefaced with, oh yeah.
Now that you mention it, yes,
Example?
that is true.
Oh yeah. I forgot to mention. We have a lot of oh yeahs. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to bitch. I mean, it comes down to that. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to. I would like to be constructive. I want to support all of the RPG systems out there, and most of them are good. And a lot of people enjoy the parties that they play with. So I guess it's a call. I mean, if you find a party, stick with it.
Yeah, if you like the people you're playing with, stick with it because the game system could always change.
Yeah. Yeah.
Someone could opt out, but hey, I want to play what's that one game called? Savage Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm like, oh yeah, let's do that, guys.
I'm waiting, by the way. I got the rule books. I'm waiting for Savage Worlds.
We'll start up on a Friday, right before we play side quests. Be a double feature. 10 hours of game time, baby. Here we go.
You know, I would love to. I was looking to a box truck so I could become like a mobile gaming DM.
No. What about Nick and the party bus?
Nick didn't want to trade his Jeep.
All right. Everybody makes bad choices.
Traveling down the East Coast. You guys want to play some D&D?
Not like
Get
that.
in.
Not all creepy like that.
I'm picturing a work van with free D&D painted on the side of it.
You guys make it real creepy.
You go to the state fair and you got all these food trucks. Then next to the food trucks is the D&D truck.
You have no idea how packed that would be.
Oh yeah,
I'd be a rolling convention.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, come on, serious gamers only.
Gosh.
But yeah, so I keep trying to think of this. I had a question I wanted to ask earlier, and it was based on how we function in the party, and it kind of felt a little bit like we were getting there, and I don't remember what the question was exactly now. But when we look at our parties, both as a player, and Zach, you're not familiar with the DM side of this, so I'll leave it as a player. How do you kind of develop your guys' party roles? I mean, you look at the party and say, this is what I'm going to do. Do you just say, I'm going to do this regardless? I mean, how do you determine... Now, you're new, so you started off with fighter because you wanted to learn.
Yes.
You know, martial classes. Do you feel like martial classes were easy to learn? Roll in, roll dice, hit shit, leave.
I don't know.
Okay.
Like I was talking to you a little bit earlier, I think the next character I play is going to be a mage.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I wanted to do for either my first Pathfinder or my first 5e game. I was advised against it. I mean, nobody told me, no, go fuck yourself. But
No.
they're like, man, you're going to be in over your head with this. Okay.
Right. You got deeper toes in the water before you start diving.
I have just got my pinky toe in the water, but I already know that I want to go to a more complicated character class.
All right. Good deal.
Nothing wrong with barbarians. I love my barbarians. I got some great barbarians. I want to try playing a different class, too.
Well, class aside, though, that's different than assigning a role in the party makeup. So, like, in the party as a whole, what kind of role do you like to fill in?
Yeah.
Character-wise, not class-wise.
Yeah, we've already mentioned party face, and that seems to go to dominant personalities.
Yeah, the one that likes to talk a lot and basically railroad the story for the DM. Against the DM.
I wonder how many people just got really upset that you said that.
I didn't. I'll take it back.
Yeah, I mean, we look at party roles. I mean, everybody tries to fill a role. I mean, healer is the one that gets thrown around. Like, there's party face, healer, tank, and they kind of mean different things to everybody.
Yeah.
When I think about filling a party role, I don't actually think about the rest of the party. It comes down to, I'm going to go this route. Let's see how you fill in around that.
I guess I'm in kind of the same boat because I'm new to all 3 games, and you know, I'm tired of being bashful. You're gonna fucking deal with me and deal with how I play because I don't know any better. Really.
Good.
Right.
You mentioned tanking. I do have a barbarian in 2 out of my 3 games, and the third one's a fighter. Tanking is, you know, one of the 2 essential barbarian features. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Taking damage and making damage. As an example, my 5e game last week, there's actually 2 barbarians in the party. Sorcerer, bard, druid, and 2 barbarians.
Oh, wow.
The DM has adjusted our campaign accordingly. I mean, you can't have 2 barbarians in a 5-person group and not adjust for that a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
The other barbarian was out last week, so I had to shoulder the brunt of the role, which meant essentially sponging more than anything else. And it's the first time I've really done that. And it was interesting too, but I always give a lot of damage, but very rarely do I just stand there and soak it all up.
And that's the true definition of a tank, is really to pull aggro.
Yep, pull aggro.
And take damage.
Yep. And that was definitely it. And it was a nice experience too.
Ah, cool, good deal. With me, I like to design my character and how I want to role play and figure out what kind of character I want to play as mechanically with the class system, and that just kind of fills in however I want to be at that moment, really. And I never think, oh, well, what role should I fill in? It's like, what character do I feel like playing as? And I just make it work. I'm so malleable that way.
Well, I've seen that, and then I've also seen you come back to me with like a 14-page backstory.
That's true.
I mean...
That was mentioned to me.
Yeah. It was a great backstory, by the way. Yeah. I made it so cinematic.
Yeah. Whereas on the other hand, Zach, I'm still waiting for a backstory from your barbarian. I'm in fact 2 bullet points at this point would be fine.
Okay.
but yeah, I mean,
I'm a voracious backstory writer.
You know, we've talked about this. Webster's needs to change their definition.
But you know, I too like be the frontline fighter. I've had a couple bouts of being a magic guy, and more often than not, though, I think I've been more of a support guy than anything. And that's not even talking about fights. It's more about getting information, investigations, and general roleplay, diplomacy, even intimidation. I feel I'm more of the guy that comes in and helps nudge it over or just do it for the guy if he can't do it, more than I'm just going to take over the whole party and just keep trucking along. I want to do this. I'm just like, oh, whatever you guys want to do, I'm just going to support that.
I find that I tend to take the position of kind of like the attack dog. You know, I don't
point
really,
the way and I go.
Yeah, I don't really do much, but you tell me where to go and what to kill, and
right,
know, guaranteed that's how it's going to go down. And it's funny because I like to play a lot of barbarians too, because I can really, unfortunately, min-max. I'm so bad. And you mentioned as a barbarian, Zach, tanking. And the important part of tanking is soaking up damage at times. As a barbarian, my prime philosophy, absolute prime philosophy is they cannot deal damage if they're dead.
Right.
Which is not tanking. Tanking isn't coming in and killing things with one hit.
You're DPS.
Yeah, essentially. And I like to play melee roles because standing in the back throwing fireball is acceptable, but kind of boring.
Yeah, I want to do a mage character next, but I just don't want to. I don't want to spam fireball. I want to make it a little bit more interesting and arch-mage-ish than that. You know.
Good luck. There are ways that you can do it. What I found that, like I just mentioned, min-maxing barbarians. I find that melee characters have awesome opportunities to specialize and do different things in combat, which is cool.
Yep.
They can min-max, develop character mechanics very well. Casters, however, seem to kind of get pigeonholed into fighting from a distance because they're kind of squishy. Like, you know, they definitely don't have the same hit points. But to add additional flavor, they have to build their characters to the story versus just shoehorn their min-maxed character into the story. I don't think that's a caster issue, actually. I think that is specifically a magic fantasy trope issue. You know, it's one of those issues where you look at it and you say, as a melee character, that's incredibly realistic. I can solidly root him on the ground. But if I'm casting magic, I might as well throw it from a distance. I might as well go for it.
Right. I feel when it comes to magic, it is awesome in the sense that you have all these spells that actually you don't need to basically go off of their description alone. You could reflavor any of the spells in the list, of course, to the DM's discretion.
Yeah.
But like Fireball doesn't have to be Fireball. You know, you can reword it and specialize it to any way you want to, as long as it's the same damage and the same properties mechanically.
Yeah, you can flavor it as long as the mechanics don't change.
Exactly. Like, I was rewatching an anime called Naruto, all about ninjas and stuff. Like, you know, it'd be super cool to do that for, you know, Pathfinder, but the ninja class doesn't provide you the same crazy stuff that anime does. So I figured out I'm gonna go Magus and what's it called? Mirrored image. That's the teleportation substitution jutsu. Easy peasy way to reflavor that. Oh, I got 5 clones. Air quotes, clones, you know, like the way you can reflavor it, I feel makes it so much more easily adaptable to how you want to play as a character, what kind of character you want to make. Because a martial character is just, I'm going to be a guy that hits you with a sword or a hammer. Not much you can really reflavor. So
you were waiting for me to make a joke in there, weren't
I was
you?
waiting. I gave you that moment.
I seen it. Trust me, my thought was there. The joke was inappropriate for the show. But I mean, it was definitely double-ended.
The character I made that had the 14-page backstory melted my brain trying to make him, because I didn't not only multi-class with 2 different classes, I did 3. So he was Magus, Wizard, and also Gunslinger. Try to make it all work with archetypes and this and that so I could shoot you with my gun and cast a spell at the same time. Melted my brain. I smelled burnt toast the entire time I was making him.
I mean, I've seen you play your characters. You smell burnt toast as you're rolling the dice, too.
Another thing, too, he was a master of disguise. He had like a plus 25 to disguise. He was amazing.
For what reason?
Because of the whole espionage story element that you were trying to put in the campaign.
So,
like, Mission Impossible style, I need to be Ethan Hawke, whoever his name is.
Ethan Hunt.
Was it Hunt?
For Mission Impossible, yes.
Oh. Who's Ethan Hawke? Is that an actor?
He is the actor.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right. I was close.
Who actually played in the vampire movie Daybreakers.
He did, that's right. Oh, wow.
Yeah. Did you see that one?
I did not.
You haven't seen a lot.
Way to cut back into conversation I was out of recording.
I mean, is that an inside joke or is it an outside joke at this point? So yeah, it's an interesting thing because there are so many different things that I want to kind of talk about, but this conversation has still been guarded for the most part. I mean, we don't want to throw any of our players under the bus. We don't want to throw any of our DMs under the bus. We don't want to throw any of the games under the bus.
I kind of want to throw one game under the bus, honestly.
What?
Starts with a D and ends with an E.
Maybe.
I don't think we usually spell dragons the European way. With the E at the end.
No, Dragon Age.
Yeah.
H has an E at the end.
Fuck that game.
I was gonna say, what are you talking about?
All right. Zach, is there anything that you really want to say about when it comes to these games? In fact, I want to save this for next episode. You want to come around for one more episode? Is that all right?
Sure.
All right.
You reeled them in, guys.
Uh-oh.
Well, at least for 2 episodes. So, all right, guys, check it. I know this has kind of been just a weird conversation to follow along with. I'm sorry. You can always check us out on Facebook at Epic Table Games or online at epictablegames.com. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Epic Table Games! Fairy tales, dragons, twice, knights, roll, dice, fantastical life. Fairy tales, dragons, twice, knights, roll, dice, fantastical life. Make way for the paladins. Make way for the paladins. Epic Table Games! Make way for the paladins. Make way for the paladins. Epic Table Games!
Thank you for listening to the Epic Table Audio Show with the paladins of the podcast, Rob and Potato. Until next time, stay in touch on Facebook at Epic Table Games and online at epictablegames.com.
Yeah. Epic Table Games!
Yeah.